when you've bought your car, or when you've purchased your car, the first thing you should do is go home,
Okay.
and then usuyoyibika imoto.
Okay.
You're going to call upon your ancestors and say, bantu abadala, nali ihashe lami langaphandle. So you don't call a car when you're communicating with your ancestors. You say,
Right.
you refer to it as a horse.
Right.
Yabo? Because a horse was a means of transportation all those years ago.
Yes.
Now our horse is a car. So you say, nali ihashe lami langaphandle. Mozani zoyibona, come and see it. And then that water, as opposed to bathing with it completely, you can use some of it to spray on the car, or khuluma nabo abadala uthi no, nali ihashe lami, please look after it, protect it, and love it.
Right.
That's indaba yemoto. Manje indaba yomsebenzi ne-business deal is a little different. Lapho uzobonga. But
Okay.
now you need to find out ukuthi ubonga bani for that business deal or that particular job.
Okay.
Because each deal is going to come with a different ancestor.
I see.
One might be from your grandmother, the other one might be from umkhulu wakho.
Okay. And ukubonga, usually a lot of people say akufanele ubonge per se, because then it would tell the ancestors ukuthi usuthi sekwanele.
Yeah.
So the wording of it, I imagine, is
Yeah.
very precise and important. Let's explain that to our viewers.
So a lot of the time when I hear this thing that people say ukuthi ungabongi, right? Ungabongi is what, to not say thank you is what is actually going to cause izinto zivaleke.
I see.
Because when we say thank you, we are acknowledging what we have been blessed with. But at the end of umphahlo, we say magwande.
Right.
You see, that's the one word that people neglect at the end of the process of ukupahla. Because if you don't say thank you, you haven't acknowledged the blessing that has been brought forward by that particular ancestor. And when blessings go unacknowledged, sooner or later, kuyavaleka.
I see.
Yabo? So bonga nje kahle. If you want umsebenzi ukubonga umsebenzi, right? If you want to say thank you for a job, you don't have to do imbuzi. Mhlambe ungaqala ngenkukhu that day, just a small chicken.
Right.
And then you abachazela ukuthi no, bantu abadala, at the end of the year, I'm going to go back home where I'm going to do umsebenzi ophelele. But for now, nayi inkukhu. Ngiyabonga magwande.
Should an elder do it for you, or can you do it for yourself?
Okay, so the process here, moto, you can do that yourself.
Okay.
Right? But leyo msebenzi, if you can't travel yet, right? To slaughter this chicken.
Right.
Okay? You would need either the matriarch or the patriarch in the family to speak with the ancestors and execute that particular ritual.
Okay.
But if you've gotten a job and you'd like to say thank you, same process applies. Just light 2 candles with the enamel dish. Say thank you to the ancestors and also tell them of your intention to say thank you completely at the end of the year. But when it comes to isluano kanye istebe that you give your ancestors, it can't, you can't give them the same animal that you gave them last year when you were earning 100,000 Rand, but now you're earning 200,000 Rand. The more blessings so the more blessings they give you, the more you should say thank you. Right? Because
Yes.
when you did the ritual the first time, what's magwan?
Right.
And indeed, one deal.
Yeah.
Yabo? So then also with ukubonga, magwande as well. So if you were doing a small kauga 5,000, the second time round, do a kauga 20,000. So that's another point where people fumble, and sometimes the thing that causes their blessings to stop is because they are now becoming stingy with how they say thank you, but their ancestors were not stingy when it comes to ugwandis.
So how does one then actually know who they should be thankful to if they've gotten a blessing in their life or want to share their gratitude? I mean, what's the process? How should that go?
Okay, so number one, most of the time, kukhona umuntu ozomphupha. Mhlambe you see that old man wearing the jacket all the time in your dreams. Okanye ubona isalukwazi. Or sometimes it's even your late mother or your late grandmother or your brother coming to you and say, yazini, mntanami, me, naku okuncane kumina. Especially if they're giving you a child or you are born pregnant. Dreams of pregnancy do not necessarily mean that you are going to fall pregnant. Dreams of pregnancy can also indicate ukuthi kunesibusiso. So when kunesalukwazi that's giving you ingane, they are giving you a blessing. That is the salukwazi that you must speak to. That is the salukwazi that you must call upon and find out their name. Their name is essential before you do the ritual wokubonga. Because when you do the ritual wokubonga, you are going to call upon that particular ancestor and say, nasi sithebe sakho ngithi ngiyabonga magwande.
And that is very important because you are now acknowledging the very person that has brought you the blessing, right?
Exactly. So by acknowledging the person that has brought you the blessing, right? You're one, calling upon ukuthi kukwande in the family.
Yeah.
But two, and most importantly, you are now learning your family tree. By learning the name of that ancestor, you can now speak to them and say, where do you fall in the family tree? And then, bloop, you put them over there, and then they can then give you access to other people. So this whole thing of, I don't know my family history is nonsense. You can literally find it out by learning the name of one ancestor in your dream. And is the one that you say thank you to first.
And they will gather the rest. I mean, even Pastor Weningi alluded to that just yesterday, speaking of dreaming of yourself pregnant, ukuthi it means a blessing. Of course, it doesn't necessarily mean ukuthi uzokhulelwa, but kunesibusiso esizayo.
Oh, sometimes leso sibusiso is also a child.
Ingane.
Sometimes it is a child. But it's also, leo ngane doesn't always necessarily come in the form of you. Mhlambe, bazothi ikhona ingane ezofika empilweni yakho, but not ingane yakho ngokwegazi.
Right.
You see, it's when they are going to tell you that there's a child that you will need to mentor, and this child is the blessing from us.
Deep namhlanje kuseni. Maybe you're sitting at home and you want to get involved with this conversation. Ubabsiyam Kize is here with us right now, and he'll be taking your questions live. You can send them across via our voice note line. It's 072 411 6528. We'll take a quick ad break. We'll be back in a moment. What would the process be in that instance?
Okay, so when it comes to getting a tender, that tender you've been given to it by your ancestors.
Right.
Right? But now, the part where abantu athola tender, la bayibaxa khona, right, where they fall off, is not that they don't say thank you to the ancestors.
Okay.
Is the fact that they do not do the tender correctly. Right? So if you've got a tender, for example, to build a bridge, you build the bridge with subpar material and then it falls apart or it doesn't last as long. But you've said thank you to your ancestors that are content with for the blessing of the tender. Izinto zakho mazibheda. It's not idlozi lakho likushayayo.
Okay.
Ushawa idlozi of abanye abantu. Because what happens is this. Idlozi nale nyembezi of all the other people that were supposed to benefit from that bridge, they go to your ancestors and say, do you see what your child is doing to our child? Disciplining ingane yenu. And then that's when, and ancestors don't punish you. They just step back and they say, la uhamba khona, uhamba wedwa, because thina asingeni kulento. And then life can happen.
Right.
Car accidents, muggings, all of those sort of things. The things that are, the probability of misfortune is increased because you're no longer being protected by your ancestors.
And this is obviously as a result of the people that you have wronged along the journey of this very blessing that came through your ancestors.
And a lot of the time, a lot of us think, no, gangama tender, they get away with it, Scott. You don't get away with anything in the spiritual realm. Whether either ishaya wena, okanye ishaya ingane zakho, okanye ishaya abazukulu. But in the spiritual realm, the bill always comes due.
Right. Let's listen to your voice notes. The number again, it's 072 411 6528. Let's roll the first one.
Hi, morning show. Kisani tlo mathape mo lebalangwe. Na I would like to know hore if obona monna mogolo like how are you going to know hore ke mang motho o tshwanetseng go mo leboga mo ditebogong tsa gago tsa gore tsa tswelelo pele. Thank you.
Usisulu Tebogola uthukela ukwazi ukuthi uma ebona ikhehla uzokwazi kanjani ukuthi kufanele abonge liphi ikhehla. I think we just need to elaborate a bit further on that.
So, mawubona ikhehla. The first thing you need to do, Mapahla, is say thank you to the ancestors for what lel kehla comes to you.
That's one.
Number two, please can you help me connect na lel kehla? Kehla, usiyabonga lo okhulumayo. Ngicela ukwazi kabanzi. I would like to know you more. What is your name? And number two, udingani kimi? If kukhona isithebe osidingayo, ngicela ungitshele ukuthi ufuna inhlobonye yesithebe. So if you would like an animal or a sacrifice or a ritual, show me what kind of animal you would like. Because sometimes they want a red goat, sometimes they want a white goat. Yabo, sometimes it's a red cow or a black cow or a white cow.
Right.
Yabo, let them indicate to you what kind of animal they would want, if they do want an animal.
And this would be a process that takes place over a week, 2 weeks, 7 days, 3 days.
So ukupahla, in my opinion, do it for 3 days, right? Candles come in a packet of 6, so you have 2 for this day, 2 for the second day, and 2 for the third day.
Right.
And then with each day, as of work saying, you have your normal shower, and then that water in the enamel dish, you pour it into the basin or the bathtub, and you bath with that water as well, thanking your ancestors again for the dreams you had the night before.
That is clear, and I hope it is clear for you as well. Let's roll the next voice note, please.
Morning. Bengicela ukubuza mangenza umsebenzi owokuphahla noma owokubonga. Lokho kudla mina ngiyakudla noma angikudli ngoba sengizwe into eningi ukuthi awukudli. Ngifuna ukubuza ukuthi kwakuyiqiniso na.
I know we have discussed this previously on many occasions.
Yeah.
Let's clarify it once
I
more.
want to clarify this misconception, so thank you very much for that question, because I have no idea where it comes from. Because to not eat the animal that is for ukubonga, for umsebenzi wakho, right, is where ungayibaxa khona and where your ritual can fall and become unsuccessful, right? You should eat the animal of umsebenzi wakho, because ngithi masenza umsebenzi kuqalwa ngenkukhu.
Yes.
Right? Uphekwa inkukhu, and then you eat the chicken as a family. And then kuhlatshwa imbuzi, and then you eat some of the goat as a family. Right? But to not eat the animal, which is for umsebenzi wakho, can be very detrimental to the outcomes of that particular ritual.
And perhaps she's asking from a standpoint of kunokudla okubekwayo ngeladi, right? Lokho kuyaye sometimes kuthiwe akuthintwa mhlambe umuntu omusha amaswiti azonikwa izingane and then utshwala bunikeza abantu abadala and things like that. Maybe that's
Okay. Makufika kuyiladi, it doesn't matter ukuthi ubani udla iladi. Anybody can consume the food yeladi. Obviously utshwala will be safe for abantu abadala, but ukuthi iladi idliwa abantu basekhaya, idliwa umphakathi, idliwa anybody, iladi can be eaten. Ukudla khona lapho can be eaten by anybody, really.
so the ancestors don't mind much.
No, you can even give it out to people abasestradeni and everything else like that. That's completely fine.
I hope that's clear for you, my sister. Let's roll the final voice note for this morning.
Sanibona kwi-morning show. Ngisacela ukubuza Khabazela ukuthi mawungazi ukuthi uzobonga bani, ungakwazi uvele usho ukuthi ngicela lokhu uyena ongiphayo asondele ngoba ngibonga kuyena.
Okay.
Very important question that.
Yeah. Okay. So no, if you don't know and usuphahile, what you can do is ungahlaba imbuzi yesilisa nembuzi yesifazane, a male and a female goat. Uthi sengicela ukubonga izalukwazi namakhehla, right? But what you do in that process yokuphahla, the last descendant that you know of, yezalukwazi. So for me it would be ugogo. The last descendant that you know, yamakhehla, for me would be my great-grandfather.
Right.
Ubiza bona because you already know them. Then you say, gogo, ngicela ubabiza phela abanye izinye izalukwazi emndenini ukuthi nabo bahle. Nasi isithebe sabo. You see, so you call the one grandmother that you know to call the other grannies, and then you call the one mkhulu that you know ukuthi to call upon laba abanye amkhulu.
Okay.
And then you can do the ritual like that.
I see. There was something else that I wanted to ask, especially on that subject matter, but the main takeaway from this conversation, namhlanje, is, depending on where your blessing, on how big a blessing the animal used for the ritual should match that blessing.
Yeah, it should.
Right?
The animal should match that blessing, right? Number one. And also, number two, the parts of the animal that you use and how you actually... there are sacred parts of an animal that should be eaten only by family and that should be given away. But I think we'll talk about that next week. But essentially, if you can't thank umuzi, for example, with a chicken.
Right.
You see?
Yes.
You can't thank ingane because there are certain types of children that require rituals of thanksgiving.
Right.
Yabo? And ingane iqala ukuhlupha, it's because you didn't say thank you for that child. Children that come after miscarriages, many failed attempts, those are the kind of children that require a special ritual.
Right.
You can't do that with inkukhu. You need at least imbuzi. Sometimes, even ukukhulisa umntwana, when you're going to mature a child,
right,
imbuzi is too small. You're going to need inkomo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very quickly, before we let you go, Babamkize, we know there are young people right now, and even people who are graduated, who are looking for a job. A call come through for an interview, ungakubika lokho, and then when you get called for an interview, ubonge, and then they will help you along the process. Yokuthola lo msebenzi.
Definitely, before going to an interview, what I would do is I would cleanse myself. So either with seawater or river water for 7 days or 3 days at least. Ugeze ufuthe ngawo leading up to the interview.
Right.
No seafood, no pork. And then uyabika ukuthi I'm going, please ngicela ukuthi nihambe nami. But ngesikhathi ubika ukuthi ngiyakhona, also ask them ukuthi if kukhona okuvimbile, ngicela ningikhanyisele khona ngizokulungisa, because some people are not getting jobs ngoba kunenkinga emsamo, whether it be isibongo, umsebenzi wokumkhulisa umntwana okanye you're the descendant of a healer that did not answer their calling.
Right. Babsia, thank you so much for your time this morning. Always a pleasure having you on the show. Insightful, as always, Usiamkiza. Of course, you can find him across our social media platforms. We will load this conversation on the Morning Show SA Facebook page. Coming up next is your news at the top of the hour. Stay with us.